What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the Aim Down Sights gaming channel, man, where we bring you reviews, our awesome podcast every Saturday, 7 p.m. The Aim Down Sights podcast. Now, we have been missing for the last 2 weeks and this upcoming week. Well, not the last 2 weeks, but, 2 episodes pretty much. And that's because my favorite co-host, the best co-host in the world, Red Dead Panda, is out of town right now at PAX, New Zealand, or wherever she's at. I think, Australia. I'm sorry, I'm messing that up. But anyway, we have to talk about Xbox today, yo. What's going on with Xbox? Why have they been in the news for, it seemed like the last 3-4 weeks, man? And it's constantly, kind of like bad news, not necessarily good news. So, like, the first thing I want to talk about, guys, is definitely the price hike to Game Pass. It is going up to $30 a month for Game Pass Ultimate. They did some rebranding. You have Game Pass Premium now. You have Essential, which was also named Core. Xbox is horrible with the names. I don't know what the next Xbox name is going to be, funny enough, guys. But if you know me and you've been, paying attention to the podcast and me as a gamer, then I've been taking a break from Game Pass since, it lapsed, I believe, in July. Yep, it lapsed in July, and prior to this, I was stocking up on CD keys. I would get months and months and months, and right now, with the current price hike, guys, I would highly recommend you doing that. But I would definitely stock up, and, I went into a COVID coma. I was in the COVID coma for 3 months, woke up, had to reevaluate my life, move closer to my mom, rest her soul, and I had to, do some things. And during that time, my Game Pass never ran out. That's the whole point of me mentioning all that, because I stocked up and it was stocked up for years. It just so happened to run out in July, and I didn't want to restock because this year I was really looking forward to Fable. I was really hoping we get Gears of War E-Day this year, but we didn't get any of that. So after Avowed and Doom, the Dark Ages, I said, you know what, I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna do what's best for me as a consumer, and that's what I think everyone should do. But I did have plans of returning in October, I had plans of returning in October because the value is insane, in my humble opinion. You get Outer Worlds, you get Ninja Gaiden 4, and you get Keeper, which I'm very excited for. Shout out to Double Fine. I'm a big fan of their work. They make really good, quirky games. So I'm excited to see what that's hitting on. And I believe that's $30 as well. So for me, the $30 price hike, I'm against it. I think it's just greed. I think it's stupidity. Now, me personally, if I was Microsoft and I'm not in them rooms for a reason, I would have added a $30 tier like they did, but I would have kept the $20 ultimate tier, and the $30 tier would have been for those who need it and who want the little extra perks that come with it. Because from what I see, people who play Fortnite is going to get a great deal. The little Fortnite pass thing, that's $12 a month. That's included now. You get a bunch of old Ubisoft games, which I either own all those Ubisoft classic games or I have finished them. So for me personally, the value has not went up. The prices went up. Now, they say we are going to get like 75 day one games. And somebody on Twitter pointed out to me that I think in 2022 or 2023, we had gotten 69 day one games with Game Pass or something close to that. Don't quote me. That was one of my supporters came in, put a link and stuff like that, right? So, the 75 games sound good, but we've had years where we've gotten close to that. And during those years when we gotten close to that, it was sitting at $15, $20. So, shout out to GameStop, which, when GameStop is looking like the superheroes and the savior of the day, you're fucking up bad, Xbox and Microsoft. But shout out to GameStop, because you can still apparently get Game Pass Ultimate for $20 a month there. And that's probably what I'm going to do to play Keeper and Outer Worlds at the end of this month. And just the $30 a month thing, man, I'm just not with it. I'm going to be honest. And this is not just me being on some old PlayStation Pro shit or anything like that. No, it's just, I don't feel the need for PS Plus or Game Pass Ultimate right now, unless it comes down to me playing multiplayer games. Like on PlayStation, I got Battlefield on the Pro. I've been playing Helldivers too, so of course I'm gonna keep PS Plus to continue to play multiplayer, which shouldn't be a thing on consoles in 2025 going into 2026 any goddamn way. But besides that, I appreciate what Game Pass and PS Plus brings to me as a gamer, but dude, I also appreciate my backlog I've been building on both of these platforms for the last 2 generations. That being said, I have a lot of great games, new and old, in my own backlog on Xbox and PlayStation. So I don't feel the need to give $30 or $20 to PlayStation every single month when I have games that I own that I need to finish. And I think if a lot of people realize that these gaming companies and subscriptions and services, they need us, we don't necessarily need them. Right? It is nice to have Game Pass. It is nice to have PS Plus, but we do not need these as gamers. Now, like I said, it's still value there. We have a community Discord. I've listened to a lot of people. I am disappointed that some people just excuse it and try to make excuses for it. People I've never seen play Fortnite are out here. Well, you get the Fortnite pass, and they hide their gamer tags and shit like that. They fucking cowards. Same shit with the PlayStation people who justify every goddamn thing. They don't really game the way they do for them to have these takes. A lot of people is going to feel the burn of this. And right in my family is one of them. My sister thought my nephew did some shit with her card when she was seeing an upcoming $30 charge from Xbox. And I had to explain to her, no, this is just simply Xbox having a price increase. And, I'm just personally not for it. In 2 months of Game Pass Ultimate for $30, you can own a game. Right, so if I really only want to play Outer Worlds or Ninja Gaiden this month, if I don't pay for Game Pass in October and November, I can buy one of those games come December. You understand what I'm saying? And I know ownership, people, well, you don't really own your digital games, this, that, and the third. Guess what, man? You cut your internet off from your Series X and see how useless that console is. And I noticed that years ago, and I don't know why nobody talk about it. You got all these fucking big frauds, all these fucking Xbox clowns out here, hating on Sony every chance they get, trying to downplay Nintendo instead of just simply asking for better, right? And if you ask for better, you will receive better, But, we lay down, we accept $30 price hikes, we accept $800 consoles, and just, blame it on Trump, blame it on tariffs, which we know tariffs is a real fucking thing in the economy. We're not stupid. We know it's a real thing. But what about the second price hike they had on the Series X and S? Nothing has changed tariff-wise between the first price hike and the second one. So at this point, I think my opinion, from supporting the brand and being, an Xbox lover for pretty much my whole life, I think when you start making these big purchases like Activision Blizzard, right, Bethesda, eventually the people above you are going to start looking down and asking questions, wanting to see more return on profits. And I think that's kind of what Sarah Bonds and Phil Spencer is going through. I'm not trying to bail them out, but I do think it's the people above them that, are pulling some of these strings. And, I kind of feel like Xbox has lost its identity in a way, kind of like how Sony lost their identity by, chasing the Concords and the Marathons of the way. And when you go back to your roots, you get masterpieces like fucking Death Stranding 2 and Ghost of Yotei. I'm not saying don't think outside the box and try to do other things, speaking of Sony, but don't abandon your bread and butter. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like Xbox has kind of did that. The beginning of the generation, I would describe Xbox as just probably the most consumer friendly of the big three. You had the cheapest next-gen consoles, which is not true anymore. The Switch is cheaper than the Series S, depending on what storage you're getting and which edition and stuff like that. And also depending on where you are at around the world. They had the most powerful console on the market for $500, which was the Series X. And, we can debate how that have lived up, after all these years. When on the base PS5, you're getting something like Spider-Man 2 swinging and gliding around the city with ray tracing on every building. And then my favorite game from Xbox's generation was 30 FPS day one. Both of them, Starfield and Hellblade. But, eventually we got 60 for Starfield, but by then people probably moved on. We got a 60 FPS update on Hellblade 2. What is that going to do for me as a Series X owner when I got the full completion for it within a month or two after it dropped? So it's just stuff like that where it's kind of mind-boggling. The DVR system, it's just mind-boggling as well. I don't want to go into like too many of my complaints, but people see me playing on my PS5 Pro because it is my main console. I didn't have to sell my Series X like most of these clowns do whenever they go get a new PC or switch to PlayStation. I still love my Xbox. And to be honest, guys, I'm kind of appreciating it more since I got rid of Game Pass. I scrolled through my hundreds and hundreds of own video games on my Series X. I installed damn near most of my own games and deleted all the games that was locked out because I let my Game Pass lapse. And I'm like, I have some really great fucking games in here. where even if I just main Xbox once again for a whole year and focus on my own video games, I feel like I would be all right without needing Game Pass. So I don't agree with the Game Pass hike. I understand it to a certain degree, depending on if you like Fortnite, if you're a big fan of Ubisoft classics, man, but you should just put the whole Ubisoft subscription in there so we can get all their games day one. When you're talking about $30, that is really steep, man. And most of those games in Game Pass go on sale very, very often. Hence the why my backlog of owned games is damn near just as big, if not bigger, than the entire Game Pass catalog when it comes to the number of games I have at my fingertips that I bought. And so, you know, I don't agree with the price hike. I think Xbox need to reevaluate some things. I think they need to figure that out. That's one thing. The console prices going up, I absolutely get it. But if it's any one of the big three that can fork the bill and try to keep these consoles at a reasonable price, it's probably the $1 trillion company or the company. Let me back it up because everybody, Xbox and Microsoft is two things. Look, it's all Microsoft at the end of the day. Eventually, it might be Microsoft Gaming. We don't know. So I don't agree with that. I don't agree with the price hikes because I feel like you could have undercut Sony if you could have kept the Series S at a reasonable price and the Series X down as low as possible, especially going into next year with GTA 6. I think a lot of Series X's and S's would have flew off the shelf. So I kind of feel like Microsoft kind of threw the towel in, you know, before this generation was even officially over with these price hikes and pricing a lot of people out of gaming. You know what I'm saying? So I don't agree with the price hikes, the second price hikes. I get it, the tariffs and this, that, and the third, but I'm not going to make excuses for these guys. At the end of the day, I'm a consumer. What the fuck do defending these prices do for me? And before you come in the comments defending Xbox, ask what the fuck do defending a price hike do for you? And if you're going to come defend Game Pass with tooth and nail, please leave your gamer tag in the comments so I can go check, because you can feel free to check mine. I game. NextGenNero. Jxymarley on PlayStation. I have nothing to hide. I don't know my Switch code number, but I just got a Nintendo Switch. So, and that's another thing. You know, with Xbox making some of these moves of being expensive and pricing me out of game in certain ways and in certain aspects, it made me want to branch out to other ecosystems. I picked up a Switch this past weekend. I absolutely been loving it so far. I've been playing Donkey Kong Bonanza, one of the best games I played this generation, an absolute banger. Probably going to dethrone Psychonauts for my favorite platforming game this generation. Nintendo, I played a lot of their demos so far, and I absolutely see why. I think I played Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and I'm like, yo, I see why these games are so freaking highly regarded. Absolutely great games. I'm really excited to continue to grow that backlog of Nintendo games slowly but surely, since their games don't go on price. I'll probably pick one up a couple times out of the year, nothing too crazy. But, you know, even with me going to PlayStation, you know, I love Xbox, but unlike a lot of these guys out here who dick ride the brand, I'm not missing out on games I love due to blind loyalty. I'm sorry, not sorry. I'm not missing out on Silent Hill F. I mean, not Silent Hill F, excuse me. Silent Hill 2. Silent Hill 2 is the reason I went and bought a PlayStation to begin with. That and Helldivers. Now, they're going to come to PlayStation, of course. Helldivers came in August. Silent Hill 2 will probably be coming sometime this month, hopefully, unless Sony renewed that timed exclusivity title, right? But even then, I'm not with the waiting for games. I'm not with the waiting. Not if I have to. I love PlayStation. I'm not going to wait for their games. I love Xbox. I'm not going to wait to play their games. If I really want to play something, I'm going to play it. So I like having all the options to me at my fingertips. Does that mean I want to play every game Xbox drop right away? No. Do I want to play every game Sony drops right away? No. Every game Nintendo drops right away, especially when Nintendo games don't go on fucking sale. Hell no. That's not what I'm, wanting to do. But it's the fact that I love having the option to do so. And I know everybody can't afford that, but when you get into paying $30 subscriptions and at the end of the year, your most game is not even a game in Game Pass, or it's just fucking Call of Duty. It's like, how much are you really struggling when you have no problem with just forking down $380 a year with only maybe $100 worth of games finished? And that's just for the average consumer. Allegedly the site went down for people going to cancel Game Pass. It was one of the highest search things on Google when they announced it. So maybe the $10 are offset the many people that's left or taking a break, but I think a lot more people, including myself, will be doing, a month-to-month situation. I want to play Keeper, that drops on the 17th, but I also want to play Outer Worlds too. So I'll probably wait until November, renew my Game Pass and go from there. Now, it's also rumors of Xbox getting out of the hardware division as well. These are fucking rumors. And you got people like MBG, you know, well-known people that left Xbox all dramatically and emotionally, like Phil Spencer fucked their wife or something. I don't know what's up with these guys, right? Of course, they are going to pick up and say, oh, it's not going to be a next-gen Xbox. I don't think it works like that, guys. You know, they have contracts with AMD. They've announced it. They've doubled down, and they came out and shut down these false rumors. I'm not saying they can't rip up the contract and say, you know what, we're getting out of the hardware business, but I don't see that happening. I think, and even if they do eventually get out, I think Xbox is still going to be a big dominant force in the industry as far as them being a publisher. They have, you know, Call of Duty. They own the Elder Scrolls IP. They own the Fallout IP. Just based on ABK and Bethesda alone, not even including all the other studios they own, like the Coalition and Playground Games. They have a lot of talented studios over there, right? And I don't see them going anywhere in the hardware. They're definitely not going anywhere software-wise. But, you know, fans like me do have a legit question. What the fuck is going on with Xbox? It is a legit question. You know, it's going to be a lot of people that, you know, come in here and justify it. And I'm not knocking those, to each their own. But I just feel like, you know, you're getting into some real outrageous and outrageous, you know, price points. And, you know, as much as I love Game Pass, I sub the Game Pass for the day one games that Xbox make. You know, so with that being said, you know, stuff like Starfield, what's another one? Indiana Jones and the Great Serpent. And this might be some hot takes, but I love Xbox. I really do. I have a Starfield poster on my wall as I record this right now. I glanced up at it. I love Starfield. I know a lot of people don't. It's a controversial game. Go check out my reviews for it. But I don't think you guys hit consistently enough with your first party games to be trying to charge what you're charging. And I feel like it's kind of egregious to do this when, you know, the 25th anniversary of Xbox is coming next year. So yeah, we got allegedly E-Day coming, Forza Horizon coming, Fable coming. But my thing is, we have barely seen any of these games outside the initial trailers. And you guys don't have a good track record of showing me something and then me just being excited for it. You know, you showed me Perfect Dark. It looked fucking amazing. You showed it at Xbox Summer Game Show. Your E3, X3, as I like to call it, right? Canceled. Contraband. I was really excited to run that with the bros. Canceled. Everwild. Always looked at dope and unique as a concept. I wanted to see what Rare was going to do with that. Canceled. Tango, gone. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you guys don't have that track record to just put full trust and say, well, you know, let me sub the Game Pass for the next year or 2 years. Let me stack up. I get it for the fans that's doing it. That's cool. And, you know, you guys taking this imaginary stance by not going paying month to month, which I respect. Do what's best for you. But me personally, Xbox, you guys have got to prove to me you can put out games consistently. You know, the year Starfield was supposed to come, I subbed that whole year past November, the original launch date, when it was supposed to come in November before it got delayed, and it got delayed. So, you know, I subbed for a few months this year with CD Keys because I thought Fable was coming this year. It's not coming. It got delayed. So I'm not about to pre-sub to something where I'm not sure if my most anticipated games is going to arrive when they're supposed to arrive. That's just me. Yeah. What's going on with Xbox? I think they're trying to reassess what's going on themselves. I think they're in the middle of really, you know, trying to find their identity. And guys, if you like the game that's being shown in the background, man, this is The Ascent, one of my favorite games from this generation. I know I've been dying a lot. I fucking suck. I remember this boss fight, bro. I'm about to fucking die a lot again. But guys, if you like these style videos, especially when we take breaks from doing the podcast, as you know, we have a lot of stuff going on. Yo, please hit that like button. Please subscribe, and you know, let me know what you guys think about Xbox. Are you abandoning Xbox? Are you sticking with the brand? Are you okay with the $30? Are you not okay with it? Me personally, I'm not okay with it. I'm not gonna subscribe, and when I do, it's gonna be month to month, and it's gonna be for $20 with GameStop. So shout out to them. I just wanted to make this video because, you know, Xbox is in the negative a lot, and I just feel like real fans should, you know, voice our opinions. And it's a few people in the community that has been, you know, being pretty solid. You know, shout out to Mr. Boomstick. I enjoy watching his content, and, you know, he kept it real. You know, a lot of people are just not okay with this. Whether you're stocked up on Game Pass or not, this is not okay. You know, we stuck with you guys through thick and thin, and this is how we're getting rewarded. I feel like we're getting a short end of the stick. That's me personally. For all the dick riders and cheerleaders that's going to come and defend a $1 trillion company, nickel and diming us more and more, then that's on you. Check out my review for the PS5 Pro on the channel as well, guys. A pretty honest review, man. Spoke on the criticisms and the positives of it that I enjoy and like. I just got the Switch, like I mentioned earlier. I'm probably going to review that. Definitely going to have a review for Donkey Kong Bonanza, as like I said, it is one of my favorite games this generation, and I highly recommend it, guys. Me and Reese will be streaming on my personal channel, the Little Nightmares game playthrough. ADS will be returning, not this Saturday, but next Saturday. Happy holidays, everyone. Holidays is coming up, and, you know, spooky season. Play some scary games, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.